that to be always running when you are using it. Or again, with mail, you'd want your inbox to be up to date. But again, other apps like your App Store, your Weird Books app, for example, these things really don't need to be running in the background. So again, this will definitely positively impact as well. And then going back to the main settings page here, we're going to click on Siri and search. Now, Siri is a great way to, of course, ask for simple information, to remind you of things, but there's multiple ways to actually trigger and start Siri. So the first is, of course, to use the trigger word. I'm not going to say this to not trigger any of your Siris here, but you can read out this phrase to start Siri automatically. Now, this is great, as of course, it makes it very easy to access Siri, but as a result, what this means is your phone will be constantly listening for that trigger phrase as long as this setting is on. Now, what this means is, once again, yes, your phone will be listening to you at all times, and will also have the microphone on at all times, which will have a significant impact on battery life. So this particular setting will have a huge impact on how much battery you end up having each day. So I highly recommend turning this off and instead use the side button to activate Siri. So what I can do is press and hold the side button here, and that will trigger Siri. I can say, "Hey Siri, what's the weather?"
Google Fi, by Google. Fi has unlimited plans that fit your data usage. Simply Unlimited is our most affordable plan for unlimited data, calls, and texts. Starting at $20 per month for each line, or try Unlimited Plus to get all the same features, plus international coverage, and unlimited hotspot tethering. Easily switch between plans.
And as you can see, because I said the trigger word, I have my HomePod in the background responding, as well as my phone here. But you get the point. Simply press and hold the side button to quickly activate Siri, and then you can tap away to close it as well. And this, once again, will save you a lot of battery in the long run. We have also the option to allow Siri when locked. This is something that I definitely suggest keeping off, as Siri can be used to also send notifications, or send messages, and really get you a lot of personal information that is on your phone. So you wouldn't want this to be accessed by someone who does not have your password, or basically have access to your phone. So make sure that Siri cannot be used when your phone is locked. Therefore, press and holding the side button, as long as the phone is locked, will not trigger Siri, only once I am in the phone and it is unlocked like it is now. While we're on the subject of security here, let's go into the Face ID and passcode settings. Now, I quickly have to type in my passcode here, and this will give us the option to give what kind of controls we would like Face ID to have. I like to keep all of these on, as I'm a big fan of Face ID and find it to be quite secure. But if we scroll all the way down here, we have the option under Allow Access When Locked. Now, what this will mean is what kind of device or what kind of settings and features on your phone can be accessed as long as it is locked. Now, my suggestion here is turn off all of these except for maybe Wallet. Personally, I like to use Wallet, for example, for transportation, to quickly tap in and out when using the tube, like I do here in London. But all these other settings, keep them off, as you wouldn't want someone being able to access your notifications who doesn't have your password, for example, right? You wouldn't want accessing your phone. And then here again, we have the ability to turn off Siri. So just for security reasons and just for general safety, I suggest keeping all of these off, especially also USB accessories. This way, if your phone is plugged into a computer or something, it cannot be accessed or synced or anything like that. And then beneath that, we have the option to actually erase the data on the phone after 10 failed passcode attempts. So if, say, your phone ever gets stolen, for example, right, the first thing that person is probably going to want to do is try to unlock your phone by guessing your password. Well, this way, with 10 failed attempts, your phone will automatically erase itself, and this means that at least your data is protected. Now, if your data is backed up to iCloud, or say your MacBook or your Mac, which I always recommend doing, then this will be no problem, as you'll always have a copy of your data and it won't get into anyone else's hands with this feature on. So I always suggest keeping this on as well. I want to go ahead and show you some camera settings here. So scrolling through the settings page here, we can scroll down to camera, and this will allow us to actually change the format. So under video, you have two presets, both your normal recording video mode as well as your slow motion mode. You can go ahead and tap on these individually to change the format as well as the resolution and frame rate. Now, of course, the higher the resolution, so like 460, the better the quality. But of course, this will take up significantly more space and also storage. So depending on what you use your phone for, whether you're just shooting video for social media or actually making videos out of it, can adjust this accordingly. I like to have it at 1080p at 60 FPS, but I do change this quite frequently while I'm filming with my phone. For example, if I'm filming anything that I want to include in a YouTube video, I automatically choose 4K at 30 FPS to match the camera that I'm filming with right now. But for normal day-to-day use, I like 1080p as it just takes up less storage. Now, I can also adjust the same thing for the slow motion mode, whether it be 100 or 240 FPS. Now, to make a long story short, the greater the frames per second, the more footage can be slowed down in post-production. So 240 FPS footage can be slowed down to a more significant rate than, say, 120 frames per second footage, but will again take up more storage, and because the frame rate is higher, the footage will also be significantly darker. So I think 120 frames, that is basically 4 times slower than regular speed, and then just beneath that we have the option to turn on and off your grid. Now the grid is basically this 3x3 little grid that you see on your screen here. You can kind of see it. I'm just going to hold my hand there in front of the lens to make it more clear. And this is this grid that will divide the screen into thirds, both in the vertical and the horizontal axes. And this makes it easier to simply align or to frame up your shot. So it's always good to either center things or to keep subjects along the thirds, so whether it be this corner, these corners, or any of these corners, really be along the thirds of the screen, as this makes it more visually pleasing to look at. So having the grid on just makes it a little bit easier to frame up your shots. And then one of the new camera features that we got with the new iPhone 13 as well as the iPhone 13 Pro models is photographic styles. Now to access this, you simply want to swipe up from the camera app, and you can see this opens a whole array of additional settings that we can use, also things like your self timer, for example, but this also includes photographic styles, and that's the third icon that we have here, and this will allow us to cycle through different styles. So you can see I have standard, rich contrast, vibrant, etc. I particularly like the rich contrast photographic style, as this will highlight the darker as well as the lighter parts of the frame and create a little bit more of that contrast and dynamic range. And that's exactly what this does, is it will sort of adjust the picture profile of your camera. Not just adding a filter to the photo, but actually adjusting the way that your camera interprets the scene. And this will also apply this consistent effect to all of your photos, unless of course you change it back. So this is great if you're going for a consistent look. And of course you can also fine-tune the picture profiles further here with the settings. So you can go ahead and swipe between them like so, and then simply swipe back down to exit out of the menu. Now in my full iPhone 13 review, I do go more in depth into the other camera features that come with this phone, so I do recommend checking this out if you have a chance. But I think photographic styles has to be the main one, and is one that I wanted to include in this video. One more useful setting that I want to share is in the settings tab, and this has to do with how your phone displays a new notification. Now of course you can have an audible feedback, so you'll have the sound come out of your speakers, or you can have the phone vibrate. But the last way that you can also show a new notification come in is to actually trigger the flash unit that is on the back of the phone. Now to turn this on, we're going to go into the settings app here, and then we're going to scroll down into accessibility, and then scroll down to audio visual, and then we'll go down